And for deeper analysis on the future of Greenland, the proposed Board of Peace that we just saw, and the broader national security implications of it all, we're joined by retired Major Glenn Ignazio, former Air Force Special Operations Commander, and now national security expert. Major Ignazio, it's great to have you with us.
Great to be with you. Thank you.
President Trump today commenting on Greenland and the Golden Dome. Here's what he had to say.
And it's a very important part because it's everything comes over Greenland. If the bad guys start shooting, it comes over Greenland. So we knock it down. It's pretty infallible. It's amazing. We're talking about it. It's really being negotiated now, the details of it. But essentially, it's total access. It's there's no end. There's no time limit.
Major, what does total access look like without us, officially making it part of the United States, whether it be a state or territory?
Yeah, it's interesting because as we look at post-World War II and what was allowed, whereas the territory of Greenland was, of course, given to Denmark and managed by Denmark, the authority also gave it, as far as the United States protecting it, where we were allowed to put as many troops in there. It's actually written that way. So it's interesting as far as ownership versus the ability to operate from a military perspective. So there's a little conflict there. But actually, it's not so much about that, but as the methods and the approach that this has been that has alienated a lot of our NATO partners.
What would you say are the minimum requirements needed to deter China and Russia? And would a permanent U.S. military presence alone be sufficient, given the fact we already do have a base on Greenland?
You're absolutely right. And again, we do have the base there. There's about 100 or so, and we can always increase that. But again, it has to be in a good relationship, at least in my opinion, many of my friends in the military, with, of course, Denmark, and to do that within Greenland. The area strategically is very important being north. The Arctic has always been a consequential area for both Russia and China because it's very easy to go over the top of the poles to get to either country. But we do have Alaska and many other ballistic missile defenses. But this Golden Dome that's proposed, yes, it would be in a very strategic area. I think the concern is if something was to happen in the future that China and Russia would go into Greenland quickly and be hard to defend. I get that. But again, post-World War II, we were allowed to put as many troops to defend Greenland in that area post that war.
Major, with regard to natural resources, the president says mineral rights will be part of this Greenland deal. What would it mean for the U.S. to be able to access those critical minerals from Greenland?
I think that's one of the things that we've seen both with President Trump applying this in Ukraine, getting those minerals, to be able to do this independently and move further away from countries like Russia and China that have some very interesting minerals that we need for, again, our high technology. The approach in Greenland as well was discussed with of course, the Secretary General of NATO without Denmark involved. And one of the concerns is Denmark not being involved. And there's a possibility that this could be an approach like Cyprus, where it's half owned by UK and so forth. But again, there's a lot of things, the natural resources, the missile defense, and the way that this is going about that makes Greenland very much the focus of everybody right now.
Yeah, a lot of concerns, even, our partners and allies in Europe, our Western partners, China. It's the slow creep of communist China. We're seeing that mega embassy being built in the United Kingdom. Many other examples that are sort of curious. And speaking of threats from China, the president just posting on his Truth Social saying the people who brought the tariff litigation against our country now in the United States Supreme Court are strongly China-oriented. So how is going against those tariffs effectively working to help Beijing, in your opinion, Major?
Well, again, we see a lot of, I look at this apolitically, just as the fact as it looks, is that these tariffs, if they're being embraced or not, determine sort of your adversarial or not. So as China has always been, from a defensive and a technology, incredibly blooming, incredibly higher threat than ever before. But there's the conflicts, is that there will be trade with China. I think globally, we see even our partner, our close friend Canada, is turning to India and China because of the problems they have with us. And so with this, it's really concerned where we see this threat, or at least this admonish from President Trump, but at the same time, an alleviation of a restriction of AI chips, which is really, really concerning to be sold to China from Silicon Valley. So again, you have the particular threat that is being looked at from trade and as a threat as a nation. And then you're seeing open things like these incredibly advanced chips that you really wouldn't want to do. So it's a very confusing thing for a lot of people right now.
Now, the president inviting dozens of countries to join his new Board of Peace, which has just been established, which was originally tasked with overseeing Gaza's reconstruction and maintaining the peace right there in the Middle East. Here's a soundbite from the president talking about it.
I like every one of these people. So we put together a team that's outstanding, a team that's done it before, a team that I think has done tougher jobs, if you want to know the truth. We've done some tough jobs. And we continue to, as far as the United States is concerned, we're behind it. And the United States has never been stronger, never been bigger, better.
Now, based on who we see on that board, our reporter, Mari, just giving us an update, a few of those people, the president of Azerbaijan, as well as Argentina, Javier Milei, and many others. What should we expect this board to accomplish?
Yeah, it's very interesting as far as what this board may be even after Gaza. So the idea of getting Gaza back up, built up, and become a modern city is one of the big tenets of this, of course, in that ceasefire negotiation within Gaza and Israel. But as the statements have been concerted, it's almost where I believe the perception and honestly the words look like it's going to be stronger or a replacement to the United Nations. Now, seeing a lot of these countries involved is great, but the invitation to Putin on a peace board is concerning when he's in Ukraine. So we've seen a lot of our allies step out of it. The proposal is that you can be on freely for 3 years, but if you pay $1 billion, you can be on it permanently. So it is a very interesting part is that we see this and maybe more of a firmer action to take in places like Gaza and further, where unfortunately over the past, the United Nations hasn't had really teeth or fight in the game as we've seen them deployed around the world, but not able to keep peace. So again, confusing, but I believe that is the lead in that a lot of analysts are looking at.
What message, if any, do you think it might send to the United Nations, who the president also called out, saying that they had great aspirations and great potential, but when you see China and Russia with absolute veto power on the Security Council and the president of the Human Rights Division alternating each year with some of the worst human rights abusers on the planet, that it's sort of lost credibility.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Even the one that has just stepped in from some incredible background that really highlights why he shouldn't be in. But that's the United Nations and United Nation politics. But again, about the force. Yes, you have a lot of these nations, especially the permanent parties that have the veto, and we saw how that's gone back and forth in different parts of the world, and especially in Israel. But the thing that's concerning about this is that the United Nations, for example, had 25,000 troops within the Lebanon and Israel border. And they were supposed to keep peace between Lebanon, Hezbollah, and Israel, and they were unable to. Now, unfortunately, that's the example that we've seen, is that there have been so much where they're so neutral that it's consensus and there's never consensus. And I think that's one of the issues, that there's no teeth in the United Nations. And I feel that's what a lot of people have seen over history right now.
Retired Major Glenn Ignazio, appreciate you joining us. Thank you.